I want to talk to you all a little bit today about a purposeful day program. You might have heard a lot about different types of day programs, historically for people with disabilities or any kind of activity center for anybody with, whether it be senior citizens, people with disabilities, children, whatever. There's a lot of different examples and different things that you can pull from, but I think the best ones that I've seen personally are ones that integrate a lot of different type of activity, whether it be sensory activity, vocational type activity, crafts, different types of things. So you never want people just sitting around, and you don't want people sitting in a corner ignored. What you want to see is people getting engaged. You don't want to see people having issues because they're bored. They're walking around this day program. They're just, chilling. That's not what you want to see. You're not prison guards, and we'll talk a little bit about prison guards later, but you are teachers. You are people that are here to embody and empower, teaching and independence and learning things. When you went to school, I don't know about you. When I went to school, school was boring to me. Sitting around doing a lot of classroom stuff, math, arithmetic, literature, things like that, and for the most part was boring to me. It didn't interest me. We're beyond that at this point. We're not a special ed school. We are not any kind of school. We are a teaching environment, but teaching that's interactive, teaching that's fun, teaching that embodies what they want to do, what the individual wants to do, what their goals are in life. So what we're going to talk about today in this training and throughout is how to get to that point. So I hope you appreciate or at least understand what I'm trying to say, and take it back. Even if you take a part of this back, I think that's a beneficial step. And if you have any questions, of course, you know how to get a hold of me. All my contact information will be on here. And then most people that I know are reviewing this right now, you actually work for me. So anyways, please look at this and take something out of it for me. So, Arnold Schwarzenegger, most of us know him from The Terminator, Kindergarten Cop, those type of movies, Governor of California. And guys, he's been around. He's done a lot of stuff. He was in the Ukrainian army when he was younger, and then went into the Mr. Olympia competition, was bodybuilding, and then of course became an actor. And he said, for me, life is continuously being hungry. The meaning of life is to not simply to exist, to survive, but to move ahead, to go up, to achieve, to conquer. To me, that's pretty much what you're trying to do with Dayhab. We don't want people just coming, like I was saying a minute ago in our opening statement. This isn't about just coming to a building and sitting around or wandering around and not knowing what you're doing. This is about having a building that is really just a shell for them to come and be there for a little while. If it's raining, of course you're going to be there due to things, but it's a hub. It's a location to meet and then go. So we're going to talk a lot about goals and different things like that, but you look at Arnold, you look at what he's accomplished with his life. Like I said, the guy was in the army, and he's a nobody. Okay, he's the little guy. I don't know if Arnold's ever been little. I apologize to Arnold, but he's this guy who really has nothing, and decided, I'm going to go and I'm going to join and start bodybuilding. There's actually a great documentary from the 70s, maybe early 80s, that's got Arnold in it, and talking about the Mr. Olympia, and this is afterwards. Of course, he's an actor at this point. He was, I think, going into Conan. But anyways, great documentary talking about what he went through. But, he didn't stop there. He wasn't satisfied with being a multi-time winner of this competition. He wanted more. And so he became an actor. He went into Conan, and you can argue all you want that he's not a good actor. Fine. But the fact is he is an actor. and he did something. He accomplished something with his life, and then he wasn't done there. You know, he conquered the world. He opened Planet Hollywood with Sylvester Stallone. I mean, for me, that, you know, hey, I'm hanging out with Rocky. I'm opening a restaurant. I'm in all sorts of cool movies. You know, I just made True Lies with Jamie Lee Curtis. What am I going to do next? Well, this dude, of course, he's getting married. He got married to one of the Kennedys. And then he decided, you know what, I'm going to be governor. So, you know, if there's anybody in this world that has a right to talk about goals and what they're going to do, I really think it's Arnold. And so, you know, I wanted to put us in the mind frame of Arnold. How are we going to accomplish our goals? What are we going to do? How are we going to accomplish our individuals' goals? How are we going to take them from these warehouses where we're just storing people with disabilities into somebody who is a viable member of a community, somebody who is wearing a hat, that has a job in this community, who has a role? So, you know, this is the future we're talking about here. You know, they've never really had a role. They've been placed in institutions. I worked with an individual one time who, his family, you know, they didn't know what to do with him. And I can't blame families from the past. Can't do it. But I can say that I had an individual who, he was put in one of the worst situations I've ever heard of. He was kept underneath a porch when he was a child. That's not okay. And I think every one of us, and anybody that's listening to this, I hope you agree with that. And if you don't, you can go ahead and stop this. Go find somewhere else to work, because this field is not for you. If you feel like people should be institutionalized or somebody should be locked away from society, then you're not going to understand what I'm about to say. So let's not waste your next 30 minutes or, you know, the rest of this training with you listening to me, because we're not going to agree and this isn't going to work for you. So anyways, let's all be Arnold. Let's get our individuals with their goals, and we're going to talk about how to find those goals here in a little bit, but let's get them where they need to be. Okay, so for this next slide, you know, we're talking about who are you. Now we're going to look at purpose. We're going to look at, we just talked about Arnold and what he was doing, but now we're going to talk about you. So to you, I want you to take a couple minutes. I want you to pause the video. I want you to take 30 seconds, a couple minutes, whatever, you know, go to the fridge, get you a drink, because, you know, you're going to be listening to me for a little while, whatever it might be. I want you to go and sit down, and I want you to think about what's the definition of purpose, and maybe jot it down. It's up to you, however you learn. But what is the definition of purpose? And what is the purpose to your life? What is the purpose to your life? Whatever you think it might be. Go ahead and pause now, and we're going to go ahead and have a break, and then you can come back and talk to me. Okay, we're back. So hopefully you actually paused and then just listened to me straight through. But if you did, that's okay. I want you to write this stuff down. Pause now. Anyways, we're going to get going. So what's the definition of purpose? You know, purpose is something higher, right? It's where we're trying to strive to be. What is our reason? Why are we here? You know, I think that's one of the oldest needs and desires of the human experience, is to try to figure out why we're on this planet. What are we doing? What is the definition of purpose to you? My purpose here is to continue to get better. That's what I want to do. I do a lot of different things. If anybody knows me, yes, I work in this field. I work with people with disabilities. I have done this now since I was in college. I started as direct support staff, became a direct support lead staff, became a direct support manager, went from there to being a QIDP, to being a unit director, to being an executive director of a community program. And in all of that, my goal was to grow. I wanted to do better, and not just for myself. I want to see things get better. I had never worked in an institution. I went and did that experience for a little over 3 years, almost 4 years, and gained that experience. And in that, I think I grew. And then going back to the community based stuff, I grew in that as well. But that's not the end of me. My purpose also expands on that. I have other things that I'm interested in. I love baseball. I coach baseball. My son plays baseball currently and loves it. And so I am behind him 100%. I want to make sure I'm doing the travel ball thing and all that stuff. I also like to work on furniture and build things. I restore furniture. I build new things when I come up with it. Not a lot of crazy stuff. Please don't no emails asking me to build you an entertainment center. I'm probably not going to get to it. I've bought old record players. I like to restore them, and like vinyl. I like to play video games with my kids sometimes. Although I found that my attention span as I've gotten older has gotten shorter, and I just don't sit as long as I used to for video games. But purpose for me, again, is to get better. So when I'm looking at what the purpose of my life is, that's the purpose of my life. I want to get better. I want to expand my knowledge. I want to always do something different. If you know me, you know I have a lot of ideas. I'm always coming up with different things and things I want to do. Part of that is what this video is doing, and some of the other things. I want to expand even more on what I do. I'm never content and satisfied at where I'm at in my existence. I always want to do better, whether it be a better dad, or do things better on that side of things, be a better person in a relationship, be better as a businessman, be better as a entrepreneur. I expand on what I'm trying to do all the time. So that's just an example for me. When you look at our individuals, what's the purpose of their life? Are they supposed to just live at their ICF or their group home or whatever for the rest of their life and just fade into nothingness? Or are they supposed to build on that? What do they want? And I think that's the biggest key here, is that we're getting beyond what we want to do and we work on what they want to do. So how do we do that? So for those of you here in Texas, you're saying, how do we do that? There's a reason behind some of this. The Sunset Advisory Committee, if you don't know what that is, that's a small group of state senators, legislation people, who get together and look at branches of the state government and do a review. And they say, how can we be better? Again, going back to my purpose of life, I like this group because they sit there and they say, okay, how do we get better? How as a state do we become more efficient? We spend our tax money better, and we look at this and say, how do we do this better? And so that's what the Sunset Advisory Committee is. They are not the final say in a lot of things. They do have to, of course, take their committee results back to the Senate and the legislature, the House, and they have to present those ideas, and then there's a vote. So, one of the things that, you hear about, especially if you work in the State Supported Living Center or one of those type of places, you're going to hear about these guys every couple years when they go out and they look at things, and they're always the ones that, recommend the closures. They recommend whatever it might be, rebuilding a State Supported Living Center. They're the ones that helped do that type of stuff a couple years ago. With the report that you're seeing here on the slide, they were actually trying to close some State Supported Living Centers. Now, that went back, and the vote did not go through. But the issue that I wanted to take out of what they're doing and bring into focus here is what they said about day programming. Okay, so this was issue 3. If you look at their report, it's under issue 3. And what they said was, DADS lacks effective means for ensuring its clients receive adequate care in rehabilitation facilities. Okay, so they also said rehabilitation facilities provide services in a group setting during weekday, work hours, and are offered to DADS clients through community-based IDD waiver and intermediate care facility programs. In fiscal year 2013, which is the one they were looking at, the state spent more than $96 million on rehabilitation services. So what does that mean? So basically what that means is that they were looking at this to say, this is where our money's going. Is it being effective? And what they're saying is no. DADS does not have an effective means to ensure that they're actually getting adequate care. That they're not just going to a warehouse and getting shoved in there. They're not in a line. I've been to one day program that I had a local authority who is somebody who kind of supervises, who they looked at this day program and they called it recliner hell. I never want to run a day program that's called recliner hell, because what they called it that way is because they had recliners just lined up from one side of the building to the other. Every day the individuals came in and they just sat there. They'd rotate them every 2 hours because that's what they were required to do. There was no interaction. There was a TV. That was its interaction. And the individuals were sitting there just basically comatose in a recliner. That is what they're talking about here. They're saying there's no means to effectively ensure that they are getting adequate care. All right, so let's scroll on to the next slide here. So in this slide, the Sunset Advisory Committee, they go on to say the rehabilitation activity should be consistent with a person's plan of service, which focuses on improving skills to help the person remain independent and live successfully in the community. So what does that mean? They're trying to give you basically a mission statement here. What are we supposed to be doing as a day program? Well, we're supposed to improve skills, help the person remain independent, and live successfully in the community. I want to go beyond that. Not only live successfully in the community, I want them to be a member of the community. I don't want them to remain independent. I want them to gain independence. Because everybody knows in these programs, no matter how good we are, there's some sort of restrictive nature to them. They live in a group home. They have staff 24 hours a day. They live in a host home. They live with a family that they have somebody there all with them all the time. Is that the least restrictive? Yes, for sure. If they have an apartment by themselves, great, even better, but they still have somebody coming in to check on them. So in the end, what's our goal? What are we trying to do? Well, I've always said we're trying to work ourselves out of a job. I want to promote independence to the point where this person moves out on their own and doesn't need us anymore. Or they go from a group home into a host home, where host home, they're more in a family type of setting. And it's more dynamic of a family. It's better relationship-wise for the individual, for the family, for everybody. And maybe from there, okay, we're in a host home. They're doing great. What about getting their own apartment? They can cook by themselves. They can be by themselves the family's gone all the time. Why can't they live by themselves? Let's do that. We'll have a staff go in twice a week. We're going to help them help clean, and we're going to have them help make sure that their budget's good, because that's what they need. We've done the assessments. We figure that out. This is what they need. And you know what? We don't even have to do all the assessments because we know the person, because we've talked to them. So, moving along. The Sunset Advisory Committee, like I said, they're a group that's going to come in. They're telling us on a state level, because all of the money that we're getting is funneling through the state, right? I mean, that's where our money comes from. It's funneling down through the state, whether it be a Medicaid program or a Medicaid waiver, where the federal government's giving money to the state and they're funneling it down. However, they're allowed to, with the Disabilities Act of 1991, or however, but they're giving us the money. It's coming through the state. So this is them telling us we're not spending our money efficiently. And I will be the first one to tell you that they don't pay day rates enough, and that's part of the problem. So I would go back and tell each one of those state senators, and I've met with a couple of them. I would sit down and say, look, this rate is not high enough. You expect us to do X, but we can't even do Y because you don't pay Z. Okay? So that's not an excuse, though. I think we have an opportunity to do better, to meet those goals, to exceed those goals, and to help these individuals be active members in the community. Okay, so ideal day services. What are those? Well, here's my thoughts. I think if you have an ideal day service, this is going to enable the person to achieve their dreams and goals for their lives. I've beat that with a stick, haven't I? I'm really trying to get that through to you. I want this person to achieve their dreams and their goals for their life. I do believe that breaking into smaller groups will be key. That is something contradictory to almost everything anybody who has been doing Dayhab for very long will tell you. So let me tell you why. You got somebody who has been doing Dayhab since 1972 is going to tell you that Dayhab ratios should be like 1 to 8, 1 to 9. And the reason being is because, like I talked about before, the rate is not good. And that's where you're getting subpar day programs. You have these programs where at the houses, we have at least 1 staff to 4 individuals. At least. That's your worst. Now, maybe in ICF, you may have 1 staff to 6 individuals. But it's all based on your individual need. And we can change that. We can go through things to make that different. We can do a little bit of that in Dayhab, but not a ton. You have to have smaller groups in order to have more interaction. More interaction at the day program is so key to being successful. If you want to have somebody move on and, accomplish something, they need some one-on-one time. Think back to when you were in school. Maybe you're in kindergarten or you're in college, whatever. It really doesn't matter. How did you learn best? A lot of kids go to colleges that are the smaller colleges, maybe an NAIA school, who is a small college with 500 students. And their classrooms have no more than 20 students in them. And the reason for that is you get more time with the teacher, right? You get more interaction, more time to ask questions. They actually know your name. If you go to one of these giant universities, you might be in a class for an entire semester with a professor, and they would never know your name except for your name's on a piece of paper and they're grading it, right? And they're just expecting you to learn based on their lectures and other things. And we're not even lecturing to these individuals, so we're taking a step above that. If we're sitting around lecturing, sure, I can have 9 people that I could sit there and talk to all day. But they're really not getting anything out of it, are they? We've already decided that they're in this program for a reason. They need more interaction. They need more human contact. So why would we take that away from them? So, that's something that you're going to have to take up with your program and look at how you can change the dynamics of it all. And, can you look at level need increases and pay increases for the pay rates? I would look at those because you really need smaller groups. You will not be successful if your groups are 1 to 9. If you're going to a museum and you're 1 staff and you have 9 clients, 9 individuals, whatever you call them in your agency, it's not going to be good. You're not going to be able to keep track of them, which is part of your duty. You have to keep an eye on everybody. You have to keep everybody safe. That's one of the reasons why we have this program. We are here to keep people safe. So if you have those high ratios, it's not going to work. But do be individual specific. There are groups that you could probably do 1 to 5, 1 to 6. Those are reasonable group levels. But smaller groups than 9 or 8 is definitely where you need to be. You need to have scheduled events and activities. There's an example, and if you want that, I can give that to you. You'll just need to email me. But when you have scheduled activities, those are good things because you want the individuals to know what's coming. When you're in college, you're in school, you're trying to go, you want to do certain things, you had a schedule. You knew each hour what you were going to do in that schedule. Maybe not college, maybe that's a bad example because you skipped most of your classes and you were in bed like me. I understand that one completely. But If you're in high school and you got your schedule, you knew where you had to be all day long. That's what these individuals need. You've got individuals that have autism or other disabilities that are going to cause them to need more structure in their life. They cannot have chaos, or you're going to have issues. And that's just basic, human decency. Yes, I have a lot of my staff who come in every day and they don't know what their day is going to be like. I don't know what my day is going to be like 9 days out of 10. But I do know how to roll with it, and they are going to too. So changes are going to be okay. But you should have something that they can look forward to and say, you know what, I'm going to be in art class at 1 o'clock today to 2 o'clock today. I am going to draw a horse. They should be able to plan ahead and know what they're doing. Hey, I'm not going to ask everybody if I can go get a Coke every 5 minutes, because I know, because right there on the TV screen it shows me my schedule. I go at 10 a.m., I'm going to the store and I have $1 in my pocket. I'm going to go get a drink. Okay? Schedule your events and activities. Things in advance. You have library days. Look online. There are so many different things in the community to do. You have library activities that you could go and you could be a part of. I've had day programs where we went and they had a train set up. It was a model train. I had 3 or 4 individuals who just loved trains. They could tell me every car on the back of a train, the back of an engine, all the way to the caboose, the box car, the different, they would name them all off, and I was amazed because I had no clue what any of those were, and my family, grandfather, great-grandfather, they were all train guys, and I don't know that stuff. I felt horrible, but the library had a train activity. We went to the train activity. It was fantastic. Guys looked forward to that. They knew about it a week in advance. It was all they could talk about. And then once they got there, it was like magic. It's like going to see Santa Claus in the mall. So it's important that you go and you do that. All right. Moving on here. The next step. There should be a junction between the mundane and the extraordinary. What does that mean, Caleb? Well, let me tell you. Like we've been talking about, my day, I don't want to be just sitting around all day, right? I don't want to be sitting around staring at a wall. Don't bring me into a room and put a DVD on and expect that to babysit me. I've always said that if I was going to one of these programs, I would be the worst person there. Because I would want to do something all the time. I don't want to sit around. I don't want to sit there and watch Home Alone for the 15th time. Just because it's Christmas time and that's the only movie we have doesn't mean I want to watch it again. Make me watch it again, and I'm probably going to shove the CD up your nose. Okay? So, think about it that way. What's extraordinary for that person? Hey, it's Christmas time. What about, let's go to the store down the street that has all the Christmas decorations out, because I've got several individuals here who would love that, and they're all very good. They don't need to go in there and be worried about breaking stuff, but you know what? Okay, maybe one of them does. What can we put in place to help that individual to make sure she gets to go too? Because everybody deserves to go and see the Christmas decorations down at the store. Or maybe it's seeing if we can get a special time to go into the local Santa land. Let's go see Santa. Maybe he's not there during the day, but maybe we can go see the decorations that they've got set up. And, that there's a lot of different things going on, especially during the holiday times. But even in the middle of summer, there's book readings at the library. There's different things going on all across town. We need to be active in those things. So let's do better. Let's take the mundane, rip it up, and make it extraordinary. Think about that. What's extraordinary to you? How can we achieve that? And I know there's budgets and all that different stuff, and you can give me all different excuses. Hey, I can give them too. I understand we can't spend all sorts of money We can't do all sorts of things because we only have so many staff, because we have so much turnover. I understand that. But I also don't accept that as an excuse. There's always people that want to work. There's always things that we can do to get better. So how do we make it extraordinary? And how do we deliver that to the people that we are expected to? All right, first thing, teacher versus prison guard. This is actually one of my favorite analogies, one of my favorite slides this whole training. So what do you think that is? What's a prison guard? You know, when I think of a prison guard, I think of somebody who is stuck in a box with people that doesn't like him or her. And I mean, I've never been a prison guard, so I really can't give you an accurate word for word how it feels to be a prison guard. I'm sure somebody can or knows somebody that can. I'm friends with a guy who was a prison guard, and he worked in the field with people with disabilities, and he decided he was going to take the the bonus check that they were going to give him and go out and he's going to be a prison guard because it is more money, and it definitely is. Went out there, he lasted about 3 months, came right back, and he tells stories every now and then. Nothing too bad happened to him, but it was scary for him. And he tells stories about, worrying about his life, basically. Worrying about his, if he's going to get hurt, is he going to have to fight? Because somebody's going to decide they're going to do something. And not a thing I would want to do. But in our analogy here, what we're talking about is a prison guard, as in we're keeping somebody in, right? What prison guard does is they keep, not just that we have bars and we have this big giant building, but we've got a guy or a girl who are holding this other convicted person inside something. They can't go. They are keeping them in the box. Okay? So, on the other hand, we have a teacher. Well, when we first think of teachers, what do we think there? We're thinking somebody who's very welcoming, somebody who is nurturing, somebody who wants to build you up. We've all had some bad teachers, and just like, in this analogy, there's some good prison guards. But in our analogy, prison guard's bad, teacher good. So when we're looking at the teacher, they're nurturing, they're kind, you're wanting to put an apple on their desk because you love them. That's who a teacher is, right? Somebody who's teaching, somebody who's here to help you get better. So when we look at teacher versus prison guard, what I'm looking at here is a staff mentality. Okay, we call our staff, we call them all sorts of different names. We call them staff, community staff, direct support professionals, direct support staff. There are so many different names for what we call the frontline workers who are on the floor every day working hard alongside these individuals. I've been a direct support staff. It doesn't really matter what you call me. I know what I am. I'm the grunt. I'm working out there on the floor, right? And I understand that because I was one and still have some of that mentality, and I think it serves me well. So, when you look at that, and you're looking at teacher versus prison guard, when I'm not just a grunt, and nobody should ever feel like they're just a grunt. They are these staff, these direct support professionals. They are vital. They are key. They are everything to what we do, and they are the most unrecognized people. They do a hard job every day, some better than others, but all of them are out there, and I don't think anybody comes here not trying to do good. That they come along and they say, I'm just not going to do good at all. Sometimes you have some bad eggs. You have some bad staff who come along and they don't really want to be there. They're there for a paycheck, which is sad because this, as everybody knows, this field does not pay good. You can go other places and get more money. This isn't about the money. If you're here for the money, again, this is the time right now. You can go ahead and stop this, turn this off, and go find yourself something else to do. Because this is not about the money. This is about caring for individuals with disabilities. This is about caring for individuals who need us. So, I do not employ prison guards. I don't want people to be keeping people in. I want to be outside the box. I want to be learning. I want to be teaching. I want to grow. Okay? And when I say I'm speaking from the client's perspective. They, in the end, are employing you. So what if I was a client, or an individual that's receiving services, what do I want from my employee? I want you to teach me. I want you to find a way to get me out from under you. I don't want to be with you anymore. No offense. I still love you. I just don't want to be here. So let's be a teacher. We need to sit down and go, what's the best for this individual? How can we get them to the point where, again, we're working ourselves out of a job? Being a prison guard is negative, and you'll never get to where these individuals want to be. Prison guards have their place in society, but with what we're teaching and what we're doing, here is not the place for them. Alright, we're going to do another activity. I know you're excited. So, I want you to pause this after I read through this, and then we're going to get back together. But what roles in society do the individuals play in their lives? So the people that are participating in our program, what roles do they have in their life? Are they a car salesman? Are they a churchgoer? Are they a voter? So think about that for a couple minutes. This might take a little bit of time. So don't feel like you have to come right back to this video. Take a couple minutes. Think about this, and then we'll get back. The second part I want you to think about while you're paused is, what is your job as a teacher that we just talked about to enable people to have roles and meaning in life? So, we just said what their roles are, or what they're playing right now. What is your job as a teacher to go forward and help them get better and encourage them in life? Take a couple minutes and then hit me back up. Pause now. Alright, so you're back. So what'd you come up with? I would hope that you came up with some pretty good things. I hope that the individuals that we serve have roles in their life, whether it be as a son or a daughter, a brother, a sister, an aunt, an uncle, a mom, a dad. We have a lot of different roles that our individuals play. Do they go to church? Do they enjoy to go to VBS and help with the kids in the middle of the summer? Do they go read books to elderly people at the nursing homes? There's a lot of different roles that your individuals play. Do you know everything that they do? Maybe that's something we need to figure out. Do we know what they want to do? I mean, really? Do we know? 7 out of 10 times, people that are listening to this, I'm going to say, don't know exactly what these individuals want to be in life. When we were all in school, in kindergarten and, elementary school, we always used to talk about, what are you going to be when you grow up? I'm going to be a policeman, a fireman. I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm going to be a model, an actor, a singer. I'm going to be bigger than Ariana Grande. What are you going to be when you grow up? Well, for these individuals, what do they want to be? And for you yourself, maybe you need to think about this. What do you want to be? Is this what you want to do? Is this something you want to take and you want to build other people? I hope so. I hope you're doing the right thing. And I hope you want to grow in the field, because there is a need. There are more and more people that need this type of field. And it can definitely keep growing. So, I'll take a step down off of that soapbox. But think about the roles. How are you as a teacher going to enable that? What do you do step by step when you want to accomplish a goal? It takes time to build into that goal and to get to where you want to be. But one of the biggest tips I've heard from a lot of people about accomplishing goals, becoming an entrepreneur, and getting things where you want it to be is persistence, and every day having a plan that every step that you take is towards that goal. So, for our individuals, how do we do that? Every step of their day needs to lead to some kind of goal. If I'm an individual, I come in and I say, you know what, I want to work in a train yard. Well, that's a little tough, isn't it? I mean, there's not a lot of trains out there anymore, right? I mean, but there's still train yards. But a lot of stuff's automated. There's somebody on the train, but there's like 2 people entirely on the entire train. And when you get to the actual train yard, there's a lot of stuff that's automated. Well, let's look at that for a minute. Does this individual actually want to work on a train, or does he want to be around trains? Does he want to know more about trains? Why don't we start there? So we're going to do some assessments with him and a plan to figure out what we need to do, because we don't know. We don't know. So we're going to talk about that more in a little bit with how you're going to assess and how you're going to create this plan. But look at the bigger picture. Just because they say they want to work in the trains doesn't mean necessarily that they're going to be a conductor. Or if they want to work at McDonald's, that they're going to be the cashier. So look beyond that and look at how we can accomplish things within our day program to help people achieve their goals. Maybe they want to quilt. They want to sell their blankets at the craft show. Cool. How do we do that? How do we help support this individual to grow that dream and to embody that dream? Alright, this next part is technically supposed to be a group activity. So let's make it a group activity. It's 2017, or whatever year it is that you're listening to this. But we have things that we can use now. We have Skype, we have text message, we have FaceTime, we have Facebook Messenger, we have Snapchat, we have who knows what else. We have a lot of different things that we can utilize. So reach out, get a hold of somebody else that works with you. I want you to text them right now, and then pause this and wait for their response. But I want you to ask them the question that's on this thing. What steps are we going to take to make a revolutionary day program that you would want to attend? Forget the individuals for a minute. What are we going to do to make this a place that you want to go to? So pause now, send out that text message, and find out what it's going to take. So pause now. Alright, welcome back. Hopefully you got some messages back from your peer. Hopefully you got a response. I would be disappointed if I sent out a message like that and I didn't get a response. And let me tell you why. Because I'm fired up about this. I want these individuals to succeed and to have the best program. I want them all to be Arnold. I want them all to be governor of California, or whatever dream they have. Okay? So, what things did you get? What's it going to take for us to get a revolutionary day program? Did you write them down? I hope so. Take them back. Go over them with your supervisor. It might be a pipe dream, but they can tell you. And don't look at people and let them not listen to you. Go talk to them. Tell them what you see, what you think is needed, and let's implement it. Find a way. Now, is it something that can be done overnight? Maybe not. Maybe what I need to do a revolutionary day program is I need a bubble tube. You ever seen one of those? They put them in sensory rooms all the time. It's these big, long tubes. They have water in there, and they got bubbles going up. And they're different colors. They change, like green, orange, yellow, blue, red, whatever. But they change colors, and they're nice to look at. I could sit there all day, play with my other sensory toys and devices, and I'm just going to look at that because that's what makes me happy. It calms me down when I'm angry. So is that what we need? Is that what I need? Maybe I need that in my office. I'll have to look at that. But what do you need to create a revolutionary day program? How can we achieve it? Let's go do it. All right. Vital to every day program, vital to any team, vital to anything in your life is a mission statement. Why are you here? We talked earlier about purpose. You have to have a written purpose. And not so much for your own personal life, because you know it. But I have heard a lot of different people talk about, writing a goal on a mirror so that every morning you wake up and you see it. A friend of mine is trying to start a store. And what he did is, I designed a graphic for him. He commissioned me to do that, and I built it for him, gave it to him. He put it on his phone as his cover screen. So every day when he looks at his phone, he thinks of his store that he wants to operate in his dream, and he thinks, what steps do I need to take to get there? That's what a mission statement should do. And it doesn't have to be the overall mission statement from your company, okay? What is your mission statement as a team in that day program that you want to do? What are you trying to accomplish? So, to obtain these goals, to achieve individual success, that's my overall basic motto and mission statement for a day program. But what's yours? Go ahead and pause for a second. Hey, you know what? You've already been texting that peer about what it's going to take to get an extraordinary day program, and I bet you've been texting ever since that first one. Back and forth, because you guys got some ideas. That's great. Now write a mission statement with that peer. Okay? Get it going. Hey, what do you think? Why are we there? What can make this better? If I had a brand new staff walking in the door and they said, "Hey, why are you here? What are you doing?" I'm going to say this every time. I'm going to say, I'm here right now to obtain this goal and to achieve individual success. Maybe that's your statement. Maybe it's something more. What is it that is you? All right, so how are we going to schedule a day? We talked earlier about having schedules, right? So, again, if you want an example of a schedule, I have one. I will send it to you, and you can look at that. I have a couple that I've designed over the years, okay? These are ones that have been designed for my consulting agency, and they are welcome to be used with permission. If you're listening to this right now, I've given you a link to it, so that means you have permission. So you can use this recording to show that you have permission to use it. So, how to schedule a day. Creating a plan for the day should achieve a goal. So again, every step that you do throughout the day should be designed to achieve an individual goal. So if I want to learn more about trains, and I spend my day on Google looking at trains, that's part of my goal. Okay? Now, can we be doing that all day? That's not realistic, is it? I mean, it's not realistic that somebody's going to be on Google all day long looking at trains, or looking up, how to repair a bicycle, or, for me, how to reinstall a record player that hasn't worked since 1972. That's not realistic for me. I have other things to do. So, just like anybody else, there's things that we build into our day to give us other things to do. So we should have some steps in there to expand our horizons too. So maybe it's arts and crafts, but maybe it's something, if I really am into trains, I'm going to build myself a little train model. Something like that. Now maybe it's a group thing. It's Christmas time. We're going to make some Christmas trees. Great. Go ahead and do it. It's, Thanksgiving. We're going to make the little hand turkeys. So you're seeing those. Those are pretty cool. We're going to make hand turkeys, and then we're going to put them up on the wall, and we're going to say what we're thankful for. Those things are perfectly legitimate to do in a program like this. All I'm going to say is, do not distract yourself with all of those when we should also be looking at how we can achieve goals for people. All right, so we're going to create that plan. Right now, I want you to think for a second. When you get up every day, what does your routine look like? Let's use me for an example. I get up every morning. One of the first things I do is take my dog out to use the restroom because she's probably been sitting there all night. She's needing to go. So that's my first step. I go out, let her out. Leave her out there. I go back in and I take a shower. And I brush my teeth, get ready for the day, go to work. Oh, I've let my dog back in by now. Thank you. Go to work, get a cup of coffee, work. That's probably not the same routine for everybody. There are people out there who get up first thing in the morning, 6 o'clock, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, go out, get their coffee, sit on the couch, watch some Good Morning America. I think that's on at 6. Or maybe it's the local news. Get up, do all that, eat some toast, make sure that they're full on breakfast, brush their teeth, go take a shower, get dressed, shave, whatever else. You know, they have a different order of things. But in the end, we're looking at what the goal is for that routine. Every morning, my goal is to get up and get ready. I have to go to work, right? So my goal is to get up, be to work on time. So everything that I do is in direction of doing that. Everything I do, whether it be hitting snooze 2 times, because that's the maximum amount of times I can hit it without being late, or just taking a shower. Everything that I do is getting me ready to meet my goal of being at work. So it's the same type of thing you're doing with the individuals. Everything you do is towards your end goal. So the schedule for the individuals attending the program should also achieve something for that individual. I think I've talked about this several times. And I think you probably understand. And you're probably sitting there thinking, how am I going to do this? This sounds so overwhelming. I need one staff for every person, and we're just going to be one-to-one all the way through. No, I mean, I understand where you're coming from. But to be honest, you can probably do this. You can do this. It's been accomplished. It's being accomplished all across the United States, all the time, in groups. Is it perfect? No. It would be nice if we could do one-to-one because, hey, this individual wants to work with trains, and I really got to get him a train job, and I've got to work hard, and just with him. Every step of my day is going to be with him about trains. Well, you're forgetting about your other people. I remember I talked about smaller groups. One of the other reasons you want smaller groups is because you can then sit down and say, hey, this group, okay, this guy likes trains, and this guy likes trains. I'm going to put them together. I talked to you earlier about the library trip that we went to with the train display. I had multiple individuals that liked trains. I had other individuals that just like to go do things in the community. They didn't want to be inside all day. Their goal was to be out, to go be social, to go to the library. They didn't always follow the be quiet rules, but they didn't also stay there very long. They would go in, they'd talk to the librarian, they'd go talk to the people that were standing there running the train stuff, because that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to socialize. They wanted to be with their peers. That was their whole goal. They wanted to be a social butterfly, and that's okay too. So look at how you can build your groups into similar interests, and that'll make it easier as well. So make sure you're trying to achieve a goal for the individuals. by creating a schedule as individualized as it can be, but also taking into consideration that we do have groups and we have to be in groups. So it's that gray area in between is where you're going to operate. All right, now the time you all been waiting for. I've alluded to this several times, the day plan. So we were asking earlier, do we even know what our individuals want? Well, and I'm not sure. I think we need to figure that out. So this tool has been developed, and it's something that you can utilize that, to help you figure out who your person is and what do they need. So it's a very simple tool. And if you look at it, it just says at the top, My Day Plan. It's going to have their name. It's going to have the name of their day plan, of the date of their plan. And these should be looked at least annually. But if it changes, like say, a couple months down the road, they say, hey, I don't want to listen to trains anymore. I want to learn about planes. We do a new day plan. All right, it's not that big of a deal. So we're going to date that thing. Put that in here. Who assisted me with my plan? That should be the staff or whoever. You know what? Maybe the staff does not have a good relationship with the individual, but the host home provider does. I'm going to ask the host home provider to sit down with them and to help create this. So write that. Who supported me with the plan? My host home provider. Okay? So here's some questions. And, not everybody's verbal and is going to be able to respond to every one of these. It's okay to have somebody who knows them best answer this, but it shouldn't be somebody, say I hired them 2 weeks ago, hey, they've worked with them for a week. They should know them. They can answer this. No. Find somebody who knows the person. Maybe it's even their parents. Call them up. Get them on the phone. We want to do this because we want to provide the best services. Would you mind answering a few questions about your son or daughter? I bet you they're going to say yes. Or they're going to say, hey, you know what? I'm at work right now. I don't have time. I really wish I did. Can you call me back at 5 o'clock? Maybe you don't have time for that either, but it's going to be beneficial in the end to do this. So this is something that is expected that you should do and get the best answers you can. So get whatever assistance you need and let's get this done. So, what do I want to do? See, this should be based on the dreams and goals and aspirations of that individual, not on the staff. Just because the staff always wanted to build those stick figures in craft class does not mean that's what the individual wants to do. Find out what they want to do. I've always wanted to go to a Dallas Cowboys football game. Oh, okay. Me personally, that's not one of my goals. Sure, stadium's beautiful. I've been there. But I really don't care about the Cowboys that much. So that's not going to meet my goal, but it's going to meet this individual's goal. And in the end, that's what we're doing. So what steps can we do? Well, maybe we need to learn how to budget our money because we spend it as fast as we get it. Every Friday we go out, we pay all of our money to everybody else. So I need to learn how to budget my money. That's step number 1. Right? So there we go. That's the first thing. That's my goal. I want to learn. So what do I want to do? I want to go to a Dallas Cowboys football game. Skills that are needed to help me meet my goal. There we go. I already mentioned it. Budgeting. I need to learn how to budget. So I'm going to put that on there. I also need to learn how to dress appropriately. I need to learn proper etiquette when I'm in town. Or if I'm in a football game, I have to learn that. I also have to understand that it's a big crowd and that there's going to be a lot of people really close to me. And I don't like a lot of people in my bubble. So is that going to be okay with me? I do have a personal bubble. This is a true story. And am I going to be okay being in a crowd with, thousands of people? Because it's full in that building. There's usually, they say standing room only. Nope, they sell the standing room at that stadium. So, is that going to be okay with me? How am I going to learn the skills needed? What do I need to do? Do I need a formal plan? Do I need to have a budgeting program that every day you're going to say, hey, Caleb, you get $20 this week. Where are you going to spend it? Or, hey, you have $733 coming from Social Security on the 1st of each month. How are we going to schedule and plan your money out so that you have enough money to buy a ticket, to arrange for travel, and all of that stuff that you need to go to a Cowboys game? Okay? So, but it might be informal too. Is it something that I'm learning every day informally? Whether it be how, we talked about etiquette, social etiquette. Is it informally that every week I'm going to go to the mall and I'm going to learn how to be around people? That could be an informal training plan. You don't have to actually document anything, but it's just something that you're going to do every week to get them used to being in a crowd. I need to know that I'm okay with people being in my bubble. So you know what? Before I go to a Dallas Cowboys game, I'm going to go to a Texas Tech basketball game and I'm going to sit in the second row. Less people overall, I can escape quicker, but I can go get used to it a little bit more or build up from there. Okay? And you might be thinking, man, this is all Dahab stuff. And it's not. A lot of this is sometimes life stuff. But, that type of stuff, like there are basketball games at local colleges during this time. The mall is open. You go during the summertime, there are a lot of high school kids there. So you should be looking at things like that. You can do these type of things at Dahab. Everything I mentioned there, besides the college basketball game, is pretty much free. I mean, you can go down and you can go to the mall for no cost at all. You can go to a college basketball game for pretty cheap. So, and you know what? If you get the right people, you might be able to get some free tickets. What kind of supports do I need? So, do I need natural supports? Natural supports are like your family, friends. If it's a house thing, if I'm going to church, I have people that are at the church that are my friends. Can they come pick me up on Sundays and take me with them? Instead of me being stigmatized and have to sit with my staff, or have to sit with my roommates who really don't want to be there, but they're there because, well, I only have one staff and they have to take them. Which, by the way, isn't right, but does happen. So, think about that. What kind of supports do they need? Hey, you know what? Your cousin is a big Cowboys fan and probably willing to take you to Dallas. And he'll go to a Cowboys game with you. He's been wanting to go see the Cowboys play the Eagles. It's a, classic rivalry. He wants to go. That's a natural support. So guess what? That's less staff we have to do. So what supports do I need? So maybe now I have to talk to my cousin, and, maybe that's part of my, my plan is working with my cousin to figure out what I'm going to do. All right, so then your cousin, maybe it's sitting up with him, setting up a time. So as you're seeing, a lot of this stuff isn't going to be every day, right? It's going to be things that you're going to work on as you go, and there's a lot of things that maybe only take a little bit of time out of the day, so that's why, arts and crafts and things like that are not bad things, because you're going to have goals like wanting to go to the Cowboys game. That doesn't take up all day. So every step is still going that direction, correct? But we also need some fillers, and we don't want to get bored. So we're going to expand our horizons. That's when you get the arts and crafts and things like that. So the next question on here, how will it look when I am there? What's my vision of the future? You know what? Hey, what it's going to look like for me is I'm going to be on the 35-yard line, 15th row up, and it won't be this specific, but I'm going to be sitting up there with my cousin. We're going to be watching the Cowboys. We're going to root for the Cowboys because we hate the Eagles because they suck. And that's my dream, right? So that's what they're going to write. And you're going to write that individual's dream. And it's word for word what it looks like for them. Again, they might not be able to answer, so the best staff, they're going to be the ones that are going to answer that. So, it might be that, hey, this individual's dream is just to be able to go into town. They love to be outside. Their face just lights up when they're out in the sun and they get to go to the store. They get to go see the Christmas decorations and they like to go to the flower shop or the nursery. What goals? And it does. So I'm using Dallas Cowboys because, I'm talking for that type of level of, individual, but if it's somebody who their whole life is just inside a building and their goal is just to get out, hey, fantastic. That we can do every day, right? Right. All right. Last one on here is that one. So basically, you look at the vision and you want to make sure you meet that. All right. So what we're doing now, we're going to take the old and we're building a new, right? Because there's a lot of old programs out there, and what we're doing is talking about difference. So I just asked a second ago, or I've been talking about this, how does arts and crafts fit in with an individual plan? Does it? We talked about how that does. It's a filler. But could it be something that does meet with somebody's individual goal? Yes. Yes. I mean, working with hands is one of the most basic human traits and skills that, humans learned years ago. Is how to build things. And they might get excited about building a hand turkey. Like I said, I like those things. Those are cool. So, arts and crafts definitely have their place. They definitely fit with what you're trying to do. Not everyone will go into every group. What does that mean? Don't force a square peg into a round hole. Me personally, you take me, and I'm an avid baseball player, baseball coach, baseball fan. You take me to a lacrosse match. I might watch it because I do like sports. I like seeing all that stuff. I mean, I like watching. I follow sports. But am I going to know what I'm watching? Am I going to be as into it as I would be if you took me to a baseball game? No. Because I'm not a round peg. I mean, I don't fit there. I'm square. I fit other places. So don't try to force things. You have to be able to fit and take your individuals to places where they want to go. So if there's a group or an activity, say somebody just doesn't want to do arts and crafts because you know what, that stuff's not for me. So why are you forcing them? They shouldn't have to go do arts and crafts. That should be part of your schedule. You should be scheduling that. So, not everyone will go into every group. Scheduled plans should be built around the individual's desires. The schedule should be individualized as much as possible. Are there some things that just have to be done as a group because that's the nature of the beast? Yes. But do it as much as possible. Get them where they want to be. Do not force them. Okay? They might see something. Make it something that they want to do. Maybe they don't want to do arts and crafts, but suddenly you're making a Dallas Cowboys wreath for Christmas. I want one. I want one for my room. I want one for my cousin's house. I want one for my grandfather's house. I want one everywhere. I'm coming to arts and crafts. Okay? Make it something that they want to do, and they will come. Do not force. Classrooms should be built with plans so the individuals can decide what they are going to do for the day and sign up for classes. This is another one of those things where you're probably like, oh man, Caleb, I don't know if we can do that. I mean, that's just, you got people signing up, you got things all over the place. You're going to have people all over. Maybe. But I guarantee you, it's going to be less hectic if the individuals that can make those choices, and you should be allowing them to make those choices. If they make the choices themselves, you're going to have much better participation, people paying more attention, people in where they want to be. So my suggestion is to build that schedule. Have it ready. Have it ready a month out, because you know what? It's December right now, but in January we're going to be working on Valentine's because February is coming up, right? So arts and crafts for the second half of January is all going to be Valentine's, and we're going to have it getting ready. So, hey, I see that now, 2 weeks in advance. I'm signing up to go make a Valentine because my girlfriend really needs a big heart with my name on it to put on her door so everybody knows who she goes with, right? So not only did you just get me to go to arts and crafts, but I signed up early and I'm looking forward to it. And then you also have to make sure you carry that out. So lesson plans, teaching plans, goals, everything you have set up should be planned way in advance. This should not be a, well, tomorrow we're going to do this because I just decided it thing. No, we should have it planned. We should know where people are going to go. They should know where they're going to go. And we act on those plans. For the individuals that maybe can't make all those decisions themselves, we give them, where you're going to learn pretty quickly what they want to and what they don't want to do. They might want to go to the massages and, be getting their daily massage, but they don't want to go mess with that, alphabet thing that you've got sitting over there. Nope, I don't like that. So learn what they like. Sign them up for classes that they actually want to be in or groups that they want to be in. Limits should be set on classes, and the individuals can have a backup plan. So what does that mean? It means you shouldn't have 25 people in a class. You should have limits. So I talked about earlier, smaller groups. You're going to have smaller groups. Now maybe you have 2 teachers in the arts room, so you're going to have up to 10 people sign up for arts and craft. Cool. So that's your 10. After that 10, nobody else can sign up. And that just needs to be a universal rule. If you give in to one person one time, everybody's going to expect it. So do not do it. So make sure you have those groups set up that everybody knows what they're doing and where they're going. So another idea would be an a la carte style program where I can pick and choose. Maybe, this week I'm going to do arts and crafts and life skills, and I'm going to go to the history classroom because I want to learn about history. I'm going to go to the recreation room, and I'm going to sign up for all those different things all in 2 different days. And so I'm going to sign up. So you guys, they kind of get to pick that there is no, order that they have to do this one, then go to this one, then go to this one. No. I'm going to go to history class, and then I'm going to skip over to arts and crafts with that group. But I've already signed up, so I'm in there. That's fine. What would be against having that kind of system? As long as they're signed up beforehand and you know what they're doing. Now, they should have a backup plan, like I talked about before. So, arts and crafts. Let's not use arts and crafts as an example. We're going to the park. Well, it's raining. Can't go to the park. What are we going to do instead? We're going to go in the rec room. We're going to play Monopoly. Okay? So there should always be a backup plan for what's going to happen, especially for things that there's a chance that you can't do that, like going to the park during the weather, or going to a baseball game, or a college basketball game, or whatever that might be. All right, now you want to hear my Elvis impersonation? No, not really. Okay. So, a little less conversation, a little more action. That's pretty melodic, right? But that's what Elvis said, right? So, we need to make sure we take out some time out of the conversation. Let's have more action. So, what do I mean by that? Well, I want to eliminate barriers. How am I going to do that? I'm going to have less tables. I'm going to have more intimacy. And I want to have it be person-centered. Okay? So, that's my points on this slide. Think about tables and what we're using them for. Tables have their purpose. Do not get me wrong here. You are going to have tables in your day program. And in that, you're going to have those tables in your arts and crafts room. You'll have, of course, your kitchen table that you're going to go eat lunch at. You might have a table for playing games. But you're not going to have tables in all of your classrooms. Or you're going to have tables that you can fold up and put away. Because maybe my program calls for more sensory activities. You're going to be, doing more massages, using vibrating toys, giving me a vibrating pillow and letting me hold on to that for a while. Talking to me, reading me a story, talking about the news every morning, sitting around the TV and saying what the latest incident happened with the president or with Congress or with the local farm association or whatever it might be. But you're going to sit around And when I sit at home or I sit in somewhere and I'm talking to somebody, I don't have barriers in between me and them. Barriers are signs that there's a difference between me and you. You're holding me back. By eliminating that barrier, you're now telling them that, hey, you can trust me. You can see my whole body. It's a whole feng shui type thing, but if you can see somebody's entire body, it makes you feel more trustworthy. So when you're working with these individuals, you shouldn't be standing behind them. If they're in a wheelchair, you shouldn't be standing over them. You should be more intimate. You should be closer to them. Spending time with that person, talking to them. Sitting in a circle, talking about the news. Talking about last night's baseball game, last night's football game, the Cowboys game from this last weekend. Whatever it may be, you should be sitting around, more intimate, less barrier. And that's a different concept. You see lots of things. You see these little horseshoe tables where the teacher sits in the middle and then you got the individual sitting on the outside. Or you have this long rectangle table and you have the teacher or the staff sitting on one end like a prison guard, watching their people, making sure they don't get out of the box. Well, that's not what we're going to do. The teachers should be moving. They should be interacting. They should be with their people, teaching, getting at their level, working with those individuals. So, a little less conversation, a little more action. All right, so let's talk about main priorities. We talked earlier about, your mission statement, your purpose, all that stuff. But what are we really there to do? I mean, as a program, as something that's getting Medicaid dollars and all that stuff, what are we there to do? Well, your number one priority, you want to keep people safe. People need to be able to come there and understand that they are going to be safe. We're not there to harm anybody. Now, that being said, there is also the right of individuals to have the dignity of risk. And what that means is they have the right to fail just like anybody else. They should be able to take risk in their life just like anybody else. Now, does that mean that they understand every risk that they're going to take? No, that's where we step in and we say, hey, this is what's going to happen. But that also does not mean that we don't hold them back from it. We do have to make sure that we, give that time to them and we allow them to take those risks if it's safe to do so. So, but keeping people safe, that's huge. We are there to make sure they help learn new skills. Right? So we are there to make sure that we're teaching new skills, that we're expanding their minds. We are there to create a person-centered experience that'll enable people to grow and desire to come to the program. Why would I want to go anywhere that isn't about me? I mean, in the end, we all want things to be about us, right? We want to have our experience be what it needs to be. So not only as the individuals, we should want them to be there, but we also want the staff to be there. Why would I want to come to work every day if it's not something that I don't enjoy doing? So it needs to be person-centered, and it needs to have a draw, something that people would want to come to. We want to form relationships with peers and staff to create a comfort and safety. We want to break down those barriers, get rid of those tables. We don't need them anymore. We want to be able to have that intimacy. We want to have that relationship with not only our individuals, with our peers, with everybody else. And they come in and have that intimacy too. They build those relationships with their fellow peers at that building. But they go out into the community and they build relationships and take on a role that maybe they didn't realize they wanted. So what are we doing? We're forming relationships. In the end, isn't that key to life? Forming relationships. So that's one of the biggest things that we're doing. John Lennon, in his famous song Imagine, said, "You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. in that song, he's talking a lot about a lot of different social issues, religion, society, politics, all sorts of stuff. He's very much all over the place in that. But one of the things that he's talking about, and you might be sitting here looking at all this stuff that I've been talking about in this last hour, about where we're going to go and what we're going to do, and you might be going, holy crap, I don't want to do all this. I can't do all this. It's not possible. Caleb, you're a dreamer. I am. But I'm not the only one. And I have a feeling that some of the things that I've taught you, and maybe not you, maybe you're not the right person for this. Or maybe you are and you don't realize it yet. But I'm not the only one. Other people want this too. We want to enable people to have the best life that they can have. That's my goal. That is what I wanted to give to these individuals and take them and let them live that life. Alright, so now, as a team, I want you to utilize the skills, create a plan of action and an action plan on the action plan form that I'm giving you with actual dates and assignments to make sure that this becomes a reality. Be dreamers. Write down your dream and let's go do it. Our last slide here. You are the day program. You are the dreamers. Without a dream, no one's ever succeeded. Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream. Steve Jobs had a dream. Einstein had a dream. Caleb has a dream. You have a dream. These individuals have a dream. So let's go forward into the future. If you have any questions, please email me, call me, and I'm going to have that on the slide there. You'll have my phone number is right there, as well as the information on how to get a hold of me on email, and you can always follow us on Facebook as well. So let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer them. And if you have any personal, not personal questions, but I'm just saying like some direct questions about, hey, this just doesn't make sense. How am I going to do this? Let's brainstorm together. Because you know what? I might not have an answer right away too. But let's get it there. All right? Go forth, do good things. Let's do the future.